Hey people of the VC, it's Andy Cloudy Mulder. A VCLT video with a difference, or certainly different from the way I normally do these. So, about a month ago, in probably my last vinyl update actually, I showed the first Death Angel album, Ultraviolence, and it was an album I've been looking out for a long time, and I finally scored a really good copy. And I got a comment from John's record rack, link below, and he just mentioned that he loved the record, and he goes back and forth between Ultraviolence and Act 3 as his favourite Death Angel album. And I replied, just said, Act 3 is the next Death Angel album on the radar, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, I've never actually heard it or owned it in any copy before. And he replied almost straight away and just said, I may be able to help you out in the Act 3 department. Email me your address, I'll get it sent to you. And it's like, whoa, seriously? Wow, that's amazing. So I wasn't going to turn down that offer, and it arrived the other day. I've since been in touch with John and let him know that it arrived safe and sound. But as I knew what was in the package, it I don't know, just to make a video just of me opening it, knowing exactly what it was, and having never heard the album, I thought this time around I would open it up, give it a few spins, and give you my first thoughts. So here's the album. It's a German pressing. So John's based in the US, I think. God, I hope I got that right. So for him to have a spare German copy, it's a kind of an import for him, but that's an import for me. The sticker on here, though, which I'm not going to take off actually, because it looks like an old record sticker. I'm not sure it's actually German. I don't know, I googled it and couldn't find a store of the name Frudisc. So maybe if it kind of looks a bit Spanish to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking complete nonsense, but because it's got Donostia or something on here. It just doesn't sound German, but there we go. And it's in pretty good okay. He told me it was in VG Plus condition. The cover, I'd say, is a fair VG Plus. It has the original inner sleeve, and very nicely it was sent in a separate inner sleeve. This is on Geffen Records. I think this was the only Death Angel release they had on a major label back in the day, and there's a lot of love for this album on the VC, and I've heard a lot of people say that this is their favourite Death Angel album. So I was really excited to hear it. So I threw it straight on, and I have to say I was a bit confused by it, to be honest with you. So let me give you a brief history of my Death Angel career. I don't have certainly all their albums. I know I think they disbanded after Act 3, and then reformed for a Chuck Billy of Testament show that he was putting on, and they've put out a few albums since. So my introduction to Death Angel was a Frolic in the Park, and I only got this probably about 4 years ago, just after I started doing VC videos and heard people talk about Death Angel. They completely passed me by during the day, and I've not played this for a long time, to be honest with you. I don't know why, but what I have been playing more recently is I picked up the Evil Divide when it came out. I got it for a great price, and I love this album. It is very typical, I think, of a lot of the older thrash metal bands, certainly, or a lot of the older bands putting out new material 30 plus years later, and doing a really, really good job of it. All really well. I was going to say well-trained musicians, but well-experienced musicians. That's the the better way of saying it, I guess. And I love this album. And I also listen a lot to this as well, The Dream Calls for Blood. So this was, what, 2016, and The Dream Calls for Blood was 2013. I've not heard the new album as yet. That's one to be honest, I'll probably pick it up on CD and get that when it comes down in price a lot. So I was kind of more familiar with the newer Death Angel releases until I picked up the Ultraviolence, which I showed in that last pickup video, and this blew me away. It's awesome. It was raw, and it was short, sharp, quite a short album, but really punchy thrash metal. I absolutely love that. So when I listened to Act 3, it really took me by surprise that it was much more of a, I guess, commercial sounding, more sort of groove funk metal, that sort of funky bass sound on it, and it really threw me the first time I listened to it. I listened to it again, and I recognised them a little bit more within it, but it's still really, I don't know, my head was kind of spinning as what happened to Death Angel? How did they get from Ultraviolence to here? And I had to go back and revisit Frolic in the Park, and as I say, it's been quite a while since I actually heard this album, and this is somewhere in between Ultraviolence and Act 3. And once I'd re-listened to Frolic in the Park, you still with me? Act 3 started to click a little more. I think it's still going to take me a few more spins to really kind of appreciate it for what it is. And I do much prefer, I think, the sound of the likes of Ultraviolence and the Evil Divide and the Dream Calls for Blood. This sound, the more, I guess, kind of traditional thrash metal sound. I was never, I was kind of not really listening to thrash metal or metal around the time when the groove funk metal sound really came in. So it's still kind of new to me and still sort of feels a little bit unusual. But I'm very, very pleased to have this in the collection, and it was super generous of John to to send this across the Atlantic and fill a hole in my collection. I was very, very pleased to fill, so I'm very, very grateful, John. Thank you so much. It was very, very kind of you. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it a hell of a lot, and so thank you for that. Do check out John's channel, and if you're wondering what the title and the thumbnail is all about, if you're British and under the age of 40 or not British, then the cleverness and the hilarity of the wordplay will be completely lost in you. But inside, I'm cracking myself up here. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks again, John. Talk to you soon.